Good morning, everyone. It is 8:30, and I will go ahead and call today's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order. Our first item on the agenda this morning is an approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion offered to approve the agenda
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Our next item today is our employee recognitions. Okay, our first individual that we're going to recognize this morning is Kent Severson. Kent, you want to come up here? Kent, this certificate is given to you in grateful recognition of 25 years of service to Clay County and our residents. Thank you so much for all the work you've done during that time. And I know Jessica is not available this morning, but Steve has some comments.
Thank you. Congratulations. Jessica sends her wishes she could be here this morning, but did want to pass along her thoughts. Kent began his career with Clay County in 2001 in the Planning and Zoning Department before transitioning to Public Health in 2004. He served for many years as a sanitarian, working alongside Bruce Jaster, and in 2019 stepped into the role of Director of Environmental Health, just before the COVID-19 pandemic. Throughout his career, Kent served Clay County in many ways. He holds credentials as a registered sanitarian, asbestos inspector, and septic system inspector. Environmental health covers a wide variety of responsibilities, including licensing regulated establishments, responding to complaints and nuisances, supporting outbreaks, investigations, sampling public water supplies, enforcing environmental regulations, and helping ensure safe food, lodging, pools, campgrounds, and mobile home parks. While much of his work happens behind the scenes, it plays a vital role in protecting the health and well-being of everyone who lives, works, and visits Clay County. Kent often says that no 2 days are the same in environmental health, and just when you think his day is planned, something comes up and pulls him in a different direction. His flexibility, knowledge, and steady approach has been a tremendous asset to our department and to the community. Beyond his professional expertise, Kent's sense of humor and easygoing attitude have made him a valued colleague and someone who helps Clay County a great place to work. Kent, thank you for your 25 years of service, commitment, and leadership.
And I was expecting that Jason was going to give you that big trophy, but I guess that's for something else. Our next individual that we are going to recognize today is Tammy Gerke. This is pretty amazing. Tammy, we are recognizing you today in grateful recognition of 40 years of service to Clay County and our residents. Thank you so much for all that you've done during that time. All right, Sandy.
Okay, I got a lot to say, but I talk fast, so it's good. So today we're celebrating a truly special milestone. Tammy's been here for 40 years. She didn't quit and come back like some other people I've had.
She was 10.
Yeah, and she stayed. So she started in 1986 as a clerk typist in the child support unit. She was a newlywed at the time, so she's also celebrating a big anniversary. Yep. Didn't have any kids at that point. She got 2 now, and she's got 2 grandkids. 3. Oh, that's right. Oh, she just had another one. So she, when she started here, she was beginning a new chapter in her work life and her personal life. And her career's become defined by her dedication, her expertise, and her compassion. And the best part is that I've been by her side the entire time. Yeah. In 1992, she was promoted to a support enforcement aide in the child support unit. And then in 1996, she moved into her current role as a collections officer. I would have to say you're probably one of the longest running collections officers in the state. And yeah, people approach her for her expertise and her guidance from all over. It's awesome. For the past 3 decades, she's been responsible for collecting debts that are owed to public assistance programs and to Clay County. It might not be the most visible work that we do, but it's incredibly important, and every dollar recovered helps to protect taxpayer resources and ensures that public funds are managed responsibly. When we hear discussions about outdated technology in government, Tammy's work is a perfect example of that challenge, because unlike most other programs, there is no statewide system for collections. So instead, she works across multiple computer systems. They don't communicate with each other, so you have to enter everything twice. And then constant cross-checking, manual entries, and attention to detail is a big part of her job. Despite those obstacles, she's the one people turn to for answers. She's an expert on those complex rules, and you just can't learn it all overnight. And through it all, one of her most difficult parts of her job is estate recovery, and she works with grieving families regarding medical assistance recovery. It takes a lot of knowledge and professionalism, a lot of kindness and grace, and Tammy brings all of those qualities every day. On a personal note, Tammy and I essentially grew up together as county employees. We lived through the crazy 80s, questionable clothing and hair choices, orange offices, 6 complete office moves of the entire unit to different buildings or floors, paper flat files, so many staff changes, we've kind of lost count. Talking about that before. We've watched our department, our technology, our programs, and our community change over the years. And through all those changes, Tammy's remained a steady, knowledgeable, and dependable presence. I feel very fortunate that you're still part of our team and that you continue to do the amazing work that you do. So thank you for 40 years. Thank you.
Sorry, Ken, she gets the trophy. Well, if anything speaks to the culture of working for Clay County, those stories are a testament. So thank you both, and thank you to the staff and other department colleagues that you work with for doing the great work. Citizens to be heard today. Are there any citizens in the audience wishing to address the county board? Anyone wishing to address the county board? Steve, have you had any requests?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The next item today is the approval of the payment of bills and vouchers.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the payment of bills and vouchers.
We have a motion offered to pay the bills from Commissioner Ebinger, a second from Commissioner Krabanoff. Any further discussion? Discussion? Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. The minutes from June 6th, 2026 and June 23rd, 2026 were published in the packet.
Madam Chair, do you want those in separate motions, or one motion will work?
Let's do separate, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 16th, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion offered from Commissioner Bear to approve the minutes from June 16th. And a second from Commissioner Campbell. Any further discussion? Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Next item would be the 23rd.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 23rd, 2026.
Okay, we have a motion offered to approve the minutes from the 23rd as presented.
Second.
And a second from Commissioner Campbell. Any further discussion? Discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Item 2, the 5-year community impact update. Jason? Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I have a brief PowerPoint I'm going to share with you guys. Thank you, Sarah, for having this loaded for me. So, June 30th, 2026 was the end of our Positive Community Norms Grant. 5 years ago, some of you will remember, we had this vision given to us from Minnesota DHS that substances and substance abuse could be changed by focusing on the positive. And that was brand new to me, brand new to anyone here in the area at the time. At that point in time, my career was show the scariness of vaping, show the scariness of nicotine use, and then hope that people will make change. And I was introduced to the science of the positive. Jeff Linkenbach is the head scientist behind that. This concept of positive community norms. How do we actually change culture? How do we actually make lasting change? And I'm going to start right away from the beginning with just showing the numbers. We did it. In 2019, at DGF schools, our vaping rates were 24%. We are now at 5%. Just to put that in perspective, we are in the top 10 schools of the state as far as vaping not being used. We didn't really focus on alcohol or cannabis, and yet you can see that the science worked there too. Alcohol use rate, these are past 30-day numbers, dropped from 23% to 8%. Our cannabis use rate went from 12% to 5%, which is fascinating. From a preventionist standpoint, whenever I was asked to study across other states and see what legalized marijuana would do, usually you see a temporary jump in use rates. And we actually continued going down in our use rates. Now, beyond this, some of the softer sciences that actually stepped in as well, our bullying rates are down. Our mental health rates are up. So in short, we've made DGF into something that has been, is being studied across the nation, and I'll show you a little bit more of that. As a county, our tobacco use rates now are amongst the lowest in the state. Clay County now has an overall vaping rate across all high schools of 9%. So we've done amazing work, and a lot of that comes to you. So I will actually kill the suspense right away, and I'll just let you know, this trophy we bought for our kids out at DGF for our Rise Club. You've met many of them when they've been here to speak about ordinance and stuff. It says, "We beat big tobacco." Because when I first came out there, those of you who knew Principal Wayne Lepard was the principal of the high school at the time, he asked me to end vaping for DGF. Now, did we end it? Not 100%. Have our kids absolutely won? Yes. We went from a perspective of 24 to 25 kids per grade that were regularly vaping down to less than 5 of them. So that's an amazing thing to know. So that's what we bought them the trophy for. It'll be displayed in a really nice case that we bought for them out there. We've created a community room that allows them to talk about, wins in speech or National Honor Society or different things like that, and just reward them for being just generally good citizens. Now, how do we do that? One of the biggest things I learned was that the solution was already there. One of the big things, we oftentimes have to focus on the concern, right? 24% of kids vaping was a big concern. And yet, 76% weren't. That means 3/4 of our kids said no. And that's amazing when we consider that over $1 million an hour gets spent by big tobacco every single hour to try to get our kids to use, right? So the fact that we had such great kids to start with made this process very growable. This right here is our Rise Club. In high school, we went from 13 kids that wanted to talk about prevention work in their school to 43 kids regularly showing up. That's 1/8 of our high school that is involved in this. Now there's another 18 kids in our middle school, and the group just keeps growing. So it's just been an amazing experience for me to be able to be a part of. And really, what we changed was, instead of asking what was wrong with us, we started asking what was strong with us and growing that. One of the cool things we got to do here in our last year of the grant, we brought in John Noltner. He runs a business called A Piece of My Mind, which is P-E-A-C-E, because it sounds a little little argumentative at first. And we asked the question of the kids and the staff and the community members, where do you see the positive show up in DGF? And this was one of the young ladies answered, "My community shows kindness through everyday respect and small, thoughtful actions." And it just really goes to highlight the change in the community and things that we had. We had hoped that we would get maybe 50 people to participate, and they over exceeded us again. 94 people showed up for this project. We created, that was the video that I was able to share with you guys. Hopefully we could share it out with the community as well. It's been shared around DGF. There's so many powerful stories that just popped up from his visit. The second I wanted to share with you, when I said that DGF is landing on a national storyboard, there's a journalist, her name's Rochelle Sharp, and she writes for the New York Times, Washington Post, places like that. And she had written an article on one of the frameworks we use called Healthy Outcomes from Positive Experiences. And through that, she learned about the positive community norms. That led her to us. And she came here and did a story that's it's in the editing phase right now. It'll be in the New York Times, where they'll be talking about our kids and all the work. And one of the cool things that she noticed, and she started asking the kids, is like, you guys don't talk about not using substances anymore. What do you do? And the answer that came from one of our seniors was, in the beginning we did, but what we realized is we don't need alcohol or any other substance to have fun. So we just invite people to come and hang out with us and see that we don't need substances to actually have a good time. And as they realize that that's true, more and more people just come to us. Now our kids at DGF are talked about in the other schools. Like, they're asking me, like, I get calls, how do we duplicate this? How do we make this work? This here was Olivia. She was our student president. You may remember she was here whenever we were working on the tobacco ordinance. And I love her quote, that I was inspired to lead after realizing that there was a problem and someone needed to speak up for change. That somebody was me. That's the kind of culture that's changing out there. It's been a complete community effort. No part of this process has been only Jason McCoy. This has always been the students' vote. We pilot test everything with staff, with community members, with students, to make sure that all of the murals that are out there, all of the different items that we've done, even this trophy, had voting done on it to make sure that everything was part of a process. And that message really took hold. So over 5 years, every year we did a different survey to make sure that we could follow our data. And this I just loved. The numbers, 5% of our kids not vaping or using cannabis, that's amazing. But this tells the real story, right? 83% of the kids say, my family would disapprove. They understand. That means their parents are talking to them. That means this communication has actually saturated. 3/4 of them say my friends would disapprove of me vaping or drinking. And so they understand that 3/4 of them don't need it to have a good time, right? That's cultural change. That's the kids really, truly realizing that I don't need this. I can actually go out and accomplish my life without substances. These are community norms. So what lasts? As 5 years is wrapped up, we now have a student body that leads. They have found their voice. They want to keep moving forward. We have a culture that supports healthy choices and a community that's committed to helping these young people thrive. One of the coolest things I saw in our last Minnesota Student Survey data was we changed, in year one, only 37% of the kids thought their community cared about them. This last one, over 70% of them believe the community cares. So we've changed that mindset, and I look forward to seeing how it continues to grow. So thank you for supporting this. With your allowance, we were able to do this work. We're looking forward to seeing what happens in the future from now on. Any questions you might have for me?
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Any questions for him on the presentation or the work? Commissioner Kravinoff.
Yeah, just, Jason, to you and your team, just an incredible thank you. As a grandparent and parent of my kids in school, just to see where a school community works together, I think it's just kind of overwhelms me, actually. Good work. Just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Additional comments or questions? Will you be giving this same presentation to the city councils and the school board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already been to the school board, and I'm on the board, or on the agenda for the city councils.
Great. Yeah, I think this really speaks to the collaboration and how different entities can do the work and help realize some cost savings outside of all of the fantastic points that you brought up about healthy community norms and students' perspective on substances. So thank you so much. Any questions? Yes.
Madam Chair, again, Jason, just great work. Appreciate the dedication and leadership, not only in the region, but sharing with the state on all the work that you do. With this grant ending, do you want to share a little bit about what your next steps are?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, I was worried that I didn't have a job after the grant, because that is the nature of grant work. But we do have, within public health, we have the foundational public health responsibilities, which will be paying for 0.8 of my time, and then 0.2 will be from the cannabis and other substance use prevention grant. So I am now in a really cool position where I get to share across Clay County and Becker County through our community health board. So my job will continue to cover any policy work that you would like to see addressed. I also get to work on making partnerships in our community, and a lot of our social media, a lot of our mental health work. So Credible Mind, I'll be back soon to present that to you guys, so you guys know this really cool resource that we have out there. Mostly it's just helping with mental behavioral health issues across both counties. One of the coolest things that I'm doing right now, Commissioner Campbell, I remember one of the first times I reported on this, he was like, what about Moorhead? What are we gonna do for Moorhead? We have a really awesome program that started at Moorhead right now around recovery. And it came from, I had a principal come to me in year 3 of this grant and say, okay, I believe you. At that point, 93% of our kids aren't. And that 7% that are using, that's my entire day. What do we do for them? And so I've been working with Moorhead to create this recovery program. How do we keep kids in the school and actually help them quit and give them that power to be able to understand what cessation looks like, so we can actually bring them over to join the rest who aren't using. So there's a lot of really awesome things going on. That's an original pilot that MDH is allowing us to do. So there's some awesome work right here in Clay County that's happening.
Thank you for following up on that. Any other questions? Great work.
Want to take a picture with the trophy?
Pardon?
You guys want to take a picture with a trophy before I leave?
Sure. Yeah, let's do it.
You
That's
guys are
fine.
part of this work. So.
Yeah. All right. Bring her up. How are we doing this? All of us? All right. All right. Our soccer team lost, but we won. Thank you. Awesome, thank you. Okay, next on our agenda today is the item 3, the request approval of the State of Minnesota grant agreement. We have our county engineer with us this morning, Justin Sorum. Good morning.
Good morning. So yes, the item that I have for approval today is the State of Minnesota Grant Contract Agreement. So this contract is just for the art trail that runs from Wilkin to the North County line. So every year I come forward to the board with a resolution. That's the first part of this, and then the actual agreement is the second part. What this does is it just allows us to get reimbursed for anything that we spend on the trail, and then anything that the local mudslingers OHV group also incurs.
Okay, thank you. This has been, I believe, a really positive agreement, for minimal cost, really, to maintain such a great trail system. Any questions from the board on the trail or the agreement?
This is budget neutral as well, so we don't, the amount that we get each year covers our costs and covers the mudslingers' costs as well, so.
Great. Board wishes?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Ebinger.
I move to approve the State of Minnesota Grant Contract Agreement 292935.
We have
I'll second.
a motion offered from Commissioner Ebinger to approve the agreement, a second from Commissioner Bear. Additional questions? Any additional questions? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you also for utilizing social media to get messaging out there on the construction projects. That's been very helpful for folks.
Definitely, thank you.
Yep. Item 4 today is the Clay County Board of Commissioners' consideration of a potential modification of the University of Minnesota Extension contract. We have Cecilia with, good morning, Cecilia.
Testing. Good morning.
Steve?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As you're certainly well aware, we contract with the University of Minnesota for our extension program services. We currently have 2 full-time employees and a 1.8, or excuse me, a 0.8 FTE, and also an administrative assistant who the Extension University of Minnesota provides services for. Generally, we are in the contract with them over 3 years. We are in the 3rd year of that contract, and we currently have a opening in our youth development position. And there's been some discussion over previous board meetings where we've had some challenges, or we know we have challenges with the upcoming budget, and it was a good time to have a discussion of whether or not we would continue to maintain the same number of staff moving forward. And so the question before the board today would be is, in looking at the contract is scheduled to end at the end of this year. She'll be coming forward later this fall with a new contract. But having said that and have an opening now, we thought now would be a time to have that discussion. So we weren't in a position where if the board were to make a decision to need to cut things next year for next year's budget, that we would have a person advertised for that point, that position that you approve of. So with that, I'd yield for any questions.
Questions, Commissioner Bear?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How long has this position sat open?
It's been open for since May.
Since May?
And it's, if I might, it's not been open because it's not been advertised. The
Yep.
way the university system is, I mean, they hire during similar seasons or different timings, and so it's not been advertised yet.
Yeah.
Yes, Commissioner Campbell?
Can you describe a little bit of what a youth development director does?
The educator position?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, that individual is in charge of managing all the programming happening in Clay County. Managing the volunteer system is about 40% of their job is really recruiting, maintaining, and sustaining volunteers to continue the program. They're also in charge of recruiting new families to join in 4-H. They're in charge of just managing the educational piece that happens. We have ambassadors in the county that requires a lot of just making sure that young people have the leadership skills that they need. They take trips to DC. They do a lot of service-oriented work in the community, and that takes somebody dedicated to guide them in that way. So they spend a lot of time doing that. And then obviously just day-to-day engaging with Clay County residents, but also volunteers and young people that are in the program.
Is it primarily
This is the 4-H position.
4-H?
Yeah, this one is the 4-H position. And then we also have the ag position, so at the 0.8.
I've always been a strong advocate for 4-H and the educators in 4-H. At the same time, I've also said that the numbers have to support it. And so I'm curious as to where we're at with how is 4-H grown? Because there was a point when we had a half person. Actually, we had one full-time extension educator in Clay County, and then we went to a half, and then we went to full.
Yep.
And so, I guess I'd like to just see where we're at in those numbers.
Yeah, I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, but what I can say is we've had a period where the position was open. It's been open, close, so we can't really speak to the trajectory of where it's at right now, because the program was just building. When we hired Monique, has been in her position a full year and some change now, and has made a really good connection with the Clay County Fair Boards, build relationship there. That takes some time, dedicated time to do that. And so we spend majority of the time just really making sure that that relationship was strong, because we understand that we can't be good partners when we don't have strong relationship. So really managing that relationship and working with the families to bring them back up to speed of where things were before that position was then open. And now that she's up and running, then now we have an opening. So yeah, it's just been kind of back and forth trying to get that position, those two positions up and running. One example that I can speak of that I'm sure of that will impact the program is a sci-fi grant. It's a relationship between NDSU and University of Minnesota Extension to really make sure that we're reaching out to our populations that typically don't participate in 4-H. And so we have somebody in our regional office that Clay County is not paying for that position, but supporting Clay County. Right now, they have 3 clubs that meet, and eventually the goal is that to make that program more sustainable, and so Clay County would absorb that club, and they will become more of a quote-unquote traditional club feel. And so Mindy Grant has been managing that program and working with that group to really make sure that they can be embedded in the program, and eventually that will also show growth. When Amelia was here, she started a lot of after-school programming in the not Moorhead, but like the outskirts of more smaller communities, and that was really good avenue there to engage in young people that typically don't have access via, after-school program or before program option. So the program is growing. I just can't tell you exactly what the number is.
Well,
Can I just have a
yeah.
follow-up? So,
Commissioner Campbell.
yeah, so I'd be curious to know what kind of enrollment we have now
Yeah.
compared to in the past in terms of kids in the 4-H program. And then also, it wasn't too many years ago where some of our school districts were forced into situations where they had to reduce, and in some instances, if I recall correctly, even eliminate after-school programming. And I know that 4-H and Extension really stepped up in that regard. And is that still going on? And what kind of numbers are we seeing enrolling in after-school programming through Extension?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect you to have those today, but I'd like to at least see those numbers moving forward, because
Yeah.
again, I think we need to be able to show to the community that what we're investing in is working.
Yeah, and I think the group just shared an update. I think you were out that day when the group came, the educators came and shared the impact report. Those numbers were in there, and we have that data that we can share. I can send it to Sarah.
There are reports that we just had at our June Extension
Yep.
Committee meeting that we can get that really speak to all of the questions Commissioner Campbell had, and I can defer to Commissioner Krabnoff here, but we are really seeing enormous strides in the program, and the after-school programming is over 300 individuals, all countywide, that we're seeing participating in this. I think the reason behind this discussion to the board is felt that, one, just similar that we do with other openings and staffing, wanted to make sure there was a space for this board to approve moving forward in whatever advertisement it is. Understanding that budgets are challenging right now, and that this board may want to make some sort of adjustment to see some sort of savings. I can tell you, it kills me to have this discussion the week of the Clay County Fair in a time when we finally got, how many years did it take, commissioners, for us to get them to 2.0 in that office? Finally starting to see positive changes in not only numbers, the static exhibits, the animals at the fair higher than they've ever been. And we're hearing from the fair board that they are having the support from the extension office that really they were wanting for a long time. It's really a great partnership. But also understanding that budgets are challenging, and we need to have the conversation if it makes sense now to move this opening to a 0.8, to amend it. My worry would be is if we hired this at a full-time employee now, that we get to a point in 6 months where we're talking about the master agreement, maybe there are costs that need to be adjusted there, and then needing to shift that position down. That's really hard for people. I think we would lose an employee going from 1.0 to 0.8. Maybe it made sense to hire at 0.8 now, but I will tell you, a cut will come with substantial cuts to what we're seeing in the after-school programming. Those are your non-traditional 4-H experienced kids. Those aren't the community club 4-H kids. Those are the after-school programming kids. And if that's the direction that this board wants to go, certainly we can talk about that. But just wanted this board to have a discussion. Commissioner Bear.
Could you get by with a 0.5?
It will be very hard, speaking to Commissioner Campbell's point earlier on, and Commissioner Mojo has just mentioned, we are working on trying to make that Sci-Fi non-traditional club group more embedded into our 4-H programming. And at that 0.8, we're going to see some significant impact to the program. At 0.5 is going to be even more significant. So the growth is going to, for lack of better word, is going to stall the growth that you want to see for a county this size.
Just a point of history, when did we go from 1 to 1.5 to 1.8 to 2?
2023 is, so we've kind of gone back and forth. 2023 it was at 0.8, and then we moved that back up, but we also took a shift in our other program that was also open, the A&R position. So we took that one was a full-time position. We took 0.8 from there and added it to, so we didn't necessarily come back it wasn't a financial impact. It
Right.
was a shift.
We just shifted, we had seen growth in numbers in the 4-H area. That's why we went to the 2.0 there, and then the natural resources position to a 0.8, which, by the way, she's doing phenomenal work in the community at a 0.8. But, these shifts don't come without substantial challenges. But did you?
And I just want to add too, if that's okay, just looking at the staffing model too, when we have, to your point, a 0.5, that person is working that 2.5 days. And when you have fair, it's very challenging to have somebody at that level. It just impacts that showcase experience too.
Commissioner Kramanoff, do you want to share?
Yeah, thank you. I'll just begin with the thought of bringing this 0.8, I think, was after Amelia had vacated the position. The fact that we had after-school programs needing to get this position filled just put some urgency to it. I think asking for the numbers is good. I think you showed that when we were here. We know that the after-school programs are really growing. We also know that we're making inroads in Moorhead, mainly, to new communities to start community clubs. So I think the work is growing. I think I would not support 0.5. This is a big role to fill. We need the recruitment. We need the people to fill it in. I am in favor of the 0.8. I think for all the reasons Commissioner Mojo talked about, every word of what she said is kind of what I was going to say, so I'm not going to repeat it. But it's vital work. 4-H is impactful. The work that you do through extension is impactful. And it's to the whole community, to our municipalities, into our schools, and into the rural areas, and then as well as the fair. Every part has been showing increases in big ways. And so while I don't want to, I know we had this discussion at the last meeting with Carrie Robideau, who is a regional program director, right? Yeah. And with her, we discussed the challenges of even going to 0.8, but I still think that's the place I would like to see us go, and I would like to do that as soon as possible so we can get this this position filled.
I think it's also important to note, obviously, with the opening since May, there is a substantial savings that the county is seeing this year because of that, correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair, Commissioners. The contract does read if the position is open, that the county will not be billed for the time that there's no one in that position.
So if we move forward refilling it at a full-time, we would still see a savings this calendar year similar to what it would be in a .8 for next year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Bear?
could we get the numbers for the last 10 years on how it's grown? When it was one full-time to a .8 to a 1?
The
Can we get
numbers.
I'd like to see the numbers before we make a decision. Could you have those numbers by next week, and we can act on this next week?
So if I might, there is some challenge in terms, I hear what you're saying, and we can actually probably get that today
Yeah, we can
because
get
we
that.
have that information that was just provided. But my concern is that if this is not approved now, we're already behind on the university's
process.
advertising process. And so there's a chance that if this isn't approved today, that they will not be able to hire for fall school programming, just the way their timeline is.
On the contract too, like we'll have to amend the contract.
Can you, I'm trying to figure out, can you get the office to send, we do have that data.
Yeah. The 10-year period that Commissioner Barr is wanting. That's dependent on how we amend the contract today?
I'd like to see the data before I make a decision on .8 or.
Additional comments from board members?
Well, I'll see how this goes. In respect to what you want, I think we had this report, we saw the growth, we see we're at these meetings, seeing the growth of what's going on, and I just want to make a motion, and if it doesn't make it, that's what it is, but I'd like to see that we move forward in moving forward to having, funding this position at a .8.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Krabanoff to amend the contract to rehire at a .8. Is that the correct wording?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Ebinger. Additional discussion.
I would just like to see the last 10 years on how it's grown, or how it's grown with a full-time employee to a .8 to a half, or just one employee. I'd like to see that data before I vote on this, so.
I hear that. We can get that information to you. Additional comments from the board? Commissioner Campbell?
I agree with Commissioner Bear. I want to see if there's justification, no matter what it is, whether it's to keep it at 2, or whether it goes to .8, or whether it goes to .5. I think a lot of it has to be in the numbers. And I haven't seen the numbers. And I don't like to vote on something when I don't have the numbers. So I'll be voting no.
Commissioner Krabanoff, would you like to maybe withdraw the motion to see if we can get additional information before the end of this board meeting?
I can come back with
Okay,
you.
I'd be open to that.
Curious?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine.
Commissioner Krabanoff withdraws his motion. Commissioner Ebinger?
I'm good with it, just an indication, all of us have our portfolios.
Okay.
And I don't want this to reflect on either of you not providing us with good information coming from the meetings that you're responsible to attend. But if we have other commissioners here that want more data, and we can do it within the time frame
Okay.
that's going to meet our needs, I have no objection to that.
Okay, so, fine with that. See if we can get the information. I will say that I believe staff is at the fairgrounds today because entry day is Thursday, so there might be a chance they're not able to get that
We
information.
have other ways to get it
Okay, so the enrolled data,
for the past 10 years.
correct, and the school participation, because I know we've grown the school districts.
Yeah, and that last part, I think, was even, you know where to go, but I mean, we were showing these numbers in your PowerPoint. Just, what was it, last month or whatever?
Yeah. That one has more of a 3-year period, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
obviously COVID in there too, so we'll.
Right, I know that's challenging, and I think part of where the board is coming from, and maybe particularly Commissioner Campbell, we talk frequently about the Brenda Schaefer-Kroom, Becky Harrington years, and in those years, how we saw the ambassador program exploding, participation exploding, and I think the data does show that since we've had the adjustment, the additional outreach that has been able to be utilized, but if you're able to get that, communicate with Steve if we can get it back on the, I'm happy to offer a break later. Okay. Are we good?
Thank you.
Okay, we can move that as needed. Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you.
But you do have the extension present budget. Should we wait, and how do you want to utilize that?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I think that if she has the ability to get those numbers today, it
That
would
would-
make more sense to
okay.
have the budget discussion.
Okay. Thank you for your flexibility, Cecilia. We are ahead of schedule. Is Anna on the way? She's outside? There she is. Good morning, Anna. Thank you for being here a little early. We have your budget presentation for human resources.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Being the first budget to present, do you want me to go line by line, or do you have a preference in what this looks like?
Is this your first budget presentation?
Sorry, I did have my budget presentation last year, but I mean the first for all the departments.
Oh, got it. Well, I'm not seeing your budget yet, so. Personnel, there we go. Let's, it's not that long, so do you mind?
Nothing.
Thank you.
All right. The first 7 lines of my budget are kind of our fixed increases from year to year. That includes salary. The only thing that would be increasing with my department's salary next year would be step increases and the COLA. I do not budget anything for overtime for human resources. In our health insurance, we do currently have a 15% cap scheduled for, or a max of 15% cap for next year, so that's factored in for health insurance. PFML, that premium is also a fixed rate that will go up based off the salaries, and same with para, Social Security, and Medicare. So the first 7 lines of my budget are just all fixed based off of salaries. My department head cell phone, there's no increase to that, so that would be neutral for next year. I do not budget anything for printing and publishing. My next item would be our annual subscriptions. I'm requesting to increase that by $150 just due to a slight increase in the DDA HR Technical Assistance Program. My association and dues and memberships, there is no increase requested for that for next year. I am asking to remove a $500 item for advertising. HR does not publish or pay for any advertising for our jobs. That would be department specific. Other professional service. So you'll see that I am increasing this for next year, or requesting to increase this. And that is due to the 10 unions that have agreed to a market study. I do have a plug number in there for $30,000 for the market study. I don't know if you would like to see that in HR's budget or come from a different area of the county budget, but it is a plug number in my budget right now.
Can I ask a question, maybe just directed at Steve? How have we budgeted that piece in prior years?
Madam Chair, you've done it in 2 separate ways. You've done it where you've added in the HR budget, but you've also done it where you acknowledge that there's going to be a study done, and we just utilize fund balance, so it's not as part of our levy.
Curious how the board would like to see that reflected going forward, or if maybe that's a personnel issues committee item. Commissioner Campbell, since you're on pick, what?
Well, I guess when we do a wage study, it's something that has implications for more than 1 year. And I guess I would be more inclined to want to remove that 30,000 from your budget, and basically use our reserves like we've done that in the past. I think that's where I would like to see us go with it. And if we're willing to do that now as a board, then it wouldn't have to go to pick, I don't think.
Right. Well, and I think it does probably make more sense, just so it's not a continual hit in your area whenever it comes up, but.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Well,
So since-
and again, I think it goes to keeping a line item like this consistent on an annual basis, because you don't do these wage studies every year. You know, it's similar to what again, what Lori does in elections, you know, she keeps it kind of consistent year to year, even though there's some years where there's no elections, and it helps stabilize that levy, and that's what I think this would help do. So.
Okay.
Great. I'll work with Lori on removing that piece.
You'd happily do that, wouldn't you?
Yes. So the other portion of that other professional service is UKG costs are just going up slightly for next year.
Can you, for the public, explain UPG?
Yes, so UKG is our HR payroll system. I will have, currently in 2026, I have, let's see here, $8,250 budgeted. For 2027, I had $45,000, removing the $30,000 for a market study. So $15,000 requested in total for UKG, which is our HR payroll system. That also does our recruiting and onboarding piece. So it has saved us from having to hire or ask for another hire in HR.
Right, it has saved substantially
Yes,
employee costs.
absolutely. No increase or change to my training budget, as well as my conference and workshop registration, no change there. Dropping down to my travel and expenses, no changes for 2027, as well as my office supplies. Office supplies includes our ID badges and like the lanyards and such we purchase for our county employees. And that would be the total, or the overall budget for me. I did work with Lori prior to today's presentation. You'll see that there's a 17.89% requested increase. Removing the market study, not knowing how conversation would go today, it would be a 10.66, and that is accounting for the increased UKG cost and then the fixed cost for my salaries and benefits.
Thank you, Anna. Questions from the board? Any questions? I appreciate that you're continuing to keep in those professional development opportunities. You have newer staff, and I think that the training dollars go a very long ways in preparing your staff and department for the changes that we're seeing. So I appreciate that you've kept that in there.
Thank you.
Questions from the board? Well, I'd say for the first department, you did a great job.
Yeah, thank you. And if you have just 1 minute, I'd like to give you an update on paid family medical leave claims. As of July 1, we've had 46 employee claims processed this year. 15 of those have been for bonding, so related to childbirth. 7 of those have been related to a serious medical condition for a family member, and 24 of those have been for a serious medical condition for the employee. To date, or I shouldn't say to date, as of July 1, United Healthcare has paid out $288,444 in claims to our staff. And in premium thus far, we've paid $189,350. So they've paid out more than they've received from us. We have, I don't necessarily want to call it a shortage at this point, but there's a difference of $99,000 in expenses paid versus premium collected. We are fortunate that we have a rate locked in for 2027. For 2028, we'll likely be in an RFP position for future years.
And in collaboration with your state partners, folks that have the same title at you in other counties, is there a pretty good network on conversation on how the rollout has been going, where the pinch points have been, how we can streamline better?
So we talk what feels like weekly, at least monthly, with many counties. I'm in a Pathways program, so all new HR directors in the state, the first 2 years, we have monthly meetings. It's been, I think a lot of the pain points have been worked out, at least from our end in Clay County. There's a lot of communication pieces in the beginning. Really, the delay is just on the paperwork from the employee to UHC side of things. So I do feel like we're in a pretty good place right now with it.
Commissioner Campbell?
And I thank you for updating us on that. And I guess one of the unknowns and one of the things I think all of us have been concerned with over time on this is obviously the indication that we're 90,000 short of what the premiums they're collecting isn't a very good sign of what's to come.
Correct.
But in addition to that, are you hearing anything in terms of the number of staff, how long they have to be gone, and what's that doing to the workforce? That obviously, when somebody leaves, that work is not getting done or it's shifted, right? So what are you hearing there?
So I'll use myself for example. I was out for 12 weeks on maternity leave, and I was very fortunate that I was able to delegate those things to Darren and my staff. I know that they had to work tirelessly throughout those 12 weeks to keep things going and afloat. As for other departments, I know that there are employees that are working extra hours, they're flexing time to get work done. So I have not heard from a department head that they're in a position where they're needing to hire temporary or new staff to fulfill those temporary vacancies or absences. But I do know that other staff are putting in extra work.
And I, and again, the example that you used, I think we've always handled that particular situation. It's been something that we did before the Paid Family Medical Leave Act for the reason you were gone, right? So, but now with that, there's an awful lot of new reasons why people might take the leave that weren't there before.
Yeah, so
I think those are more the concerns that we might see out there in terms of demands on workload.
Absolutely. So one thing to note, we do run FMLA concurrently when applicable. So as long as the employee is eligible for FMLA, we run that concurrently. And I didn't look at these numbers exactly, but I'm pretty confident to say that almost all of them have also been an FMLA qualifying event. So it hasn't been one of those new reasons per se, or not many new reasons. So I think these would be things that people would have been out for regardless.
Well, the FMLA pays the difference.
No, so FMLA does not pay the difference. FMLA would be job protection, where PFML would be like partial wage replacement. And so when the event meets the criteria for both, we would run them concurrently. Under FMLA, they can use their sick and vacation to like top off, or there's maybe short-term disability, long-term disability, other things in place. But FMLA does not automatically pay them or to make up the difference.
So it's the sick pay that we allow to top off.
Correct. Yeah, and under ESST provisions, so there's all these inner workings with all these different laws. Under ESST, they can use their sick, vacation, comp, or flex to make them whole. So we can't just limit it to sick leave.
Additional questions? This component is going to be very important for us to continue to track the data. We've had some conversation with state legislators on curiosity on how it's working, where are areas where we will see challenges. I know we've discussed, and I do want to say I'm really appreciative of the staff members that are stepping up and putting on additional time and effort to get it done to make sure we're covered. But we have had conversations about, these mandated staffing level pieces. If we have challenges meeting those, what does that mean, particularly in the correctional facility? Just continue to give us that data, and we can communicate that to the state leaders.
Absolutely. We get a report quarterly, so I'm happy to provide.
Okay. Good? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Matt, do you mind if we do your budget presentation? We might have to have a break later because of some data that we're asking for from extension. Is Erica coming, or is it just you? Or did I jump over GIS? I'm sorry. Mark, is that okay? Sorry. I didn't mean to leapfrog you, but.
Good answer.
All right, so let's go ahead, if you don't mind. I'm sorry for that, but let's do the GIS and communications budget.
Good morning.
Morning, Mark.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So GIS and communications, I'm well aware of the fact that we are probably the most discretionary department that there is. Because there's nothing that we do is required by statute. We're there specifically to support the other departments, what they're doing, and with information and services. So we try to make sure that we're doing it as effectively as we can and as efficiently as we can, and trying to get the most bang out of our buck. And so we're constantly doing that. So I meet with my staff a few times a year. We talk about this stuff, what we're doing, how we can do it better. So when it comes to budgeting, one of the things I do is I keep my own big spreadsheet. This is my 2027 one, trying to keep track of exactly what do we need to spend money on and what's the best use of those dollars that we're requesting from you. One of the biggest challenges we have is guessing what we're going to be needing to spend money on, up to 18 months from now. So, because sometimes things change. Like a really good example in my 2027 budget that you're looking at today, I've got money setting in there for ChatGPT, which is something a year ago we didn't even think about. So we're always trying to be ready to adapt and put those things to use. One of the things that I'd like to mention is in 2025, at the beginning of that year, we changed the position of our GIS technician to a full-time slot. That has been very beneficial to the county. It's allowed us to change how some workflows work and who does what tasks in the GIS division, which specifically has made it possible for us not to use contractors as much as we used to. We used to use GIS contractors that do some work for us, and we've been able to have our GIS coordinator do those things instead, and a technician has taken over the day-to-day tasks of maintaining our parcel data and some of those things. So at the end of the day, I think that makes a really good use of our resources, and because of that, I'm able to reduce my request this year for other professional services because we don't have quite the demand that we used to. So we're actually seeing that change. The other thing I wanted to note on this budget is one thing I don't know whether you'll notice it or not, but one of our positions, our communications coordinator position, we're not requesting it to be filled for 2027. We're going to leave it vacant. That's saving us $100,000+ a year. So we're just going to leave it as is. So the question then is, what aren't we doing? Because of that, probably the single biggest things we're not doing is our direct department support that we were doing before, which had to do with graphics and brochures and helping the departments with their specific communication needs. Right now, we've kind of pushed that back to the departments to do on their own. We still will support them as best we can with the resources we have, but we aren't doing that as well as we're not doing quite as much social media posts or those kind of things. So we've kind of cut back on that to try to be as effective as we can. However, my staff are still doing amazing things. I mean, they're doing all the stuff that we've been requested to do. We are doing that well. We're still doing graphic arts. We're still doing signage. We're doing ADA compliance is our biggest one for this year we've been working on. Another big one we've been doing is training activities for our staff specifically. We're rolling those kind of activities out. And for those of you that happen to be at the county fair this week, if you see a sign or poster there, chances are it came from our shop. We are producing a tremendous amount of product that's going out to the fairgrounds. So we're able to help Extension and some other departments with that. So it's a really effective way of using our tools that we have on hand. So to talk about the budget specifically, we have no new requests. We have one reduction, which is in other professional services. We're going to reduce that one by 20%, or what was it? Yeah. $10,000. And then we're increasing software because of software has been costing us more and more and more. The cost of that's been going up anywhere from 9 to 12% that we're getting increased. So we're basically just matching what the costs are expected to be for next year. With that, I'll ask for any questions.
One question, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Bear.
In the computer software, is that where you're putting ChatGPT in there, or?
Correct.
All right.
Absolutely. And one thing I didn't mention, I probably should, was last year we had a couple line items that went over a little bit, mostly because one of the things we missed, we try to plan this stuff out, right? We try to think of things. One of the biggest things we missed was new buildings, right? We had these 2 new buildings came online at the end of 2024. The thing we missed was cameras. We got surveillance cameras everywhere. There's 2 in this room even. If you're in a public space in a Clay County building, there's a surveillance camera watching you. The piece we missed was that each of these cameras have a license agreement that we pay for, and it was in my budget at that time, and it's $59 a year per camera. Well, now we have 416 cameras. We added 86 alone in the withdrawal management detox facility. When that bill came last September, we were like, oh shucks, we missed that. So if you remember, Rory actually came to you last fall. We moved that to his budget, and you changed his 2026 budget to capture that extra cost. So we've already addressed that, but it's just an example of we try our best to guess what we're going to need to spend money on, but sometimes things happen, and we just miss things or that kind of stuff. So we try to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar.
And to that, the reasoning for adding the additional cameras, and we've talked about this, is the liability of not having that
Right.
far exceeds what that payment.
Oh, absolutely. They're well worth the money we spend on them. And
Questions? I do want to highlight a point that you talked about, the amount of work that your department does to help additional county departments, but also partners, is huge. And, we've been at the SWCD when you have worked with them to provide maps, and they've commented on that as well. I really do appreciate that. And I think in many ways, your department jobs get put on your department because it seems to make the most sense, and how do we communicate and tell the story to the residents about what services are available, when things would be closed, where you can go. So I appreciate that flexibility in continuing to meet that need.
thank you.
Questions? No questions?
I,
Yeah, Commissioner Campbell.
Mark, I'm trying to, when I look at your salary line items from 2026 and what you're proposing in 2027, when was it that we no longer had the one position? Was that
It would
midway
be,
in 2026?
yeah, it was, yeah, we actually, at the end of last year, I came to you and we took it out. So they took it out of the budget this year. I'm not entirely sure the numbers work for what they took out this year.
That's
my math-
why I'm asking the question.
No,
because-
my math actually,
Because if we have one less full-time person than we did when we established the 2026 budget, and you've had no other
Right.
new hires or anything, why are we that much more?
I just think, I mean, my guess is the number they took out of this year's was not exactly what it should have been. Whether it's with or without COLA or-
I think there's
Yeah,
issues here.
yeah, just on that item.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know that answer for sure.
okay. Maybe we can just get clarification on it, because I would think that, when we look at what Anna just did on her report, and you look at the increase, which included both steps and the COLA,
Right.
that was like 7.68%, I think it was, something like that. And even just with steps and COLA, you would think you'd be in that same percentage range,
Yeah,
and yet we're at
12.
12.59, plus we no longer are funding one position.
Right. Well,
Right.
I think on this, on the 2026 budget under salaries, I think they've removed that one position's salary.
It's been taken out?
It's been taken out, but I don't think that, my guess is, and I didn't have access to that, but my guess is the number they took out is not the right number. It was either before or after COLA, or,
Okay.
that's just my estimate on that.
I believe last year in the 2026 budget, the COLA was added after, it was a line item. And so that, none of the budgets last year included the COLA, the 4%.
Okay. Thank you.
Additional questions? No? Commissioner Kravinoff, your microphone.
That being said, is there COLA in this number this year?
It is. If you recall last year, Commissioners, we were in the process of negotiating the union contract. And so we knew a number, we had a number pegged in that, or we didn't have a number pegged in there because we didn't know where the COLA was going to land. And so essentially you're seeing a 4% and a 3% from the 2025 number.
So is that going to be consistent then every budget?
Well, now that we're back on track with our union contracts of going 2 years and 3 years, the goal is we're always going to know the next year's.
Yeah,
COLA,
but I'm
so-
saying from last year to this year, we'll have to account for that COLA not being in 1 year and now will be?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so in our minds, that's all I'm saying.
Right.
Part of the increase.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Additional questions? Thank you, Mark. Matt, can we do yours as well? We're waiting on some communication from Extension, and then we will take a break after your budget presentation. The next item is a budget presentation for the Planning and Zoning Department. Our Planning and Zoning Director, Matt Jacobson, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So here today to present my proposed 2027 budget. I just want to make a note of one change on here. If you look at the DNR shoreline, that $2,944 should be included in 2027, so I will update that just to make sure that that is included. 2,944.
Revenue.
Yep, it's under revenue. Yep. It's our
Shoreline.
shoreline grant. Yep. All right, so my budget is looking like it's going to have a 3% increase, just over 3% increase this year. This is largely almost 100% driven by personnel costs, staffing costs, and everything else in my budget, just in terms of operating expenses, I propose to remain the same from 2026. I should say that we're able to keep those costs fairly flat because we've been able to do a couple things. One is we've been able to expand online permitting and payment capabilities. So we're now taking every single application, whether it be for a building permit all the way up to a text amendment or a rezoning petition, we can take online now. We can review it online. And it just increases efficiencies in that respect. And I want to thank Erica for that because she's largely been driving that work, and she's done a fantastic job with getting us into the 21st century and getting our payments and everything online.
Yes, Commissioner Bear.
What percentage are we getting online now on permit
I would say it's over 50% at this point. So we're trying to drive more people to, if people ask for a permit application or something that we want to steer them towards online option. Of course, we do have paper options as well for those who prefer that. Yep. Yep. So we're also looking at just really laser focused on automating any repetitive tasks when necessary. As I had mentioned, moving customers towards our online applications. One thing that's nice about the online applications is it really reduces the amount of back and forth between our staff and applicants. Oftentimes with the paper application, we will get them and they will not be 100% complete. So there's a lot of back and forth trying to get additional information. With the online application, you're basically required to fill in everything. And so that has really upped the number of completed applications that we've received. We're also looking at, or we have started just updating our staff reports, standardizing those, modernizing those a bit more, just to make things more consistent, and that also improves efficiencies as well. And really, we're looking at just anywhere where we can, if there is a increased demand or something that's causing an increased workload, we're looking for technology solutions to make that more efficient. I will say too that a lot of our some of our permitting these past couple years has been a lot more complex, mainly because of floodplain. We've been dealing with a lot more after the fact floodplain violations and just floodplain permitting in general that takes more time. And we've fortunately been able to leverage some technology to help make that expedite those processes a little bit more, make them be a little bit more efficient. And that's where I can thank other departments like Mark's department for providing support to our department for that. And also just looking at how we spend our grant money that we receive from the state in terms of our shoreland grants, our in terms of, we can use some of our shoreline grant funding for paying for noticing and things like that. If there's a hearing that has a shoreline component to it, we can also kind of use that money for some floodplain stuff as well. And so looking at being more efficient with those dollars. Other than that, I think just beyond the staffing too, we also support our planning commission and board of adjustment. And so making sure that, you know, they're supported through their per diems and their travel and mileage, and then also providing training opportunities for them as well. There haven't been as many training opportunities this year, but in the past there have been a few planning commissioners and board of adjustment members who've taken advantage of the training opportunities that come up. So.
To that, you know, I know in the past those training opportunities have been very valuable, particularly when hot button issues come before the board, to have that experience before we have those conversations. Obviously, we've talked about some big potential land use issues that could be happening throughout Minnesota, particularly that would be helpful. AMC is doing those lunch and learns, and sometimes I wonder if that would be a helpful, just forwarding that availability opportunity to planning and board of adjustment folks. I think that would be a helpful, if there's something pertinent.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Campbell?
Matt, you gotta, I look at your salary line item here, and it doesn't, you know, when we think of all the things that you do, you know, with the planning commissions and all those different meetings, and I certainly think this is very reasonable. And I do hope that with what we've done over the past few years, and I think back when Commissioner Bear was on the Planning Commission before Commissioner, I think, you know, we tried to look at ways to really modify what requires a permit and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. Because I think there was an awful lot of additional demands that were put on you for what were being routine accepted permits anyway. So I, you know, and I think with your guidance on that and suggestions about how we can reduce those requirements where we can has been a good thing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just glad that you've done a good job. That's what I guess.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. I would agree with how we've changed some of the permitting requirements, and then also say like what might require a variance as well.
Yes.
Those changes have been
I do think it's important, though, to mention that because we don't require someone to get a permit for a 10-by-10 Menards storage shed, that we're not seeing decreases in planning and zoning permit revenue.
No.
And that was something that came up. We wanted to make sure that if it made sense, we changed it, but you know, not to the detriment of what the revenue that you're anticipating. It's nice to see growth there.
Yep. And Madam Chair, just regarding revenues too, I think one thing that we might want to look at this year too with our fee schedule is maybe looking at some slight increases, not to make a profit at all, just to cover the actual costs, especially with, say, after the fact permits, and then also our permits that require public notices in the forms of publications in the newspaper, and then mailed notices as well. Right now, we are not anywhere close to breaking even on those unless we have a certain number of hearings in a night. So it'd be good to look at that relative to the costs of printing and publishing.
Which I appreciate, because we have had substantial conversation on that as well, and understanding that the levy goes into providing the services that sometimes are required. But I do think it's important. There have been some fairly large applications that take a substantial amount of time, and wanting to make sure that the fee structure reflects the additional workload that would go into that.
Yep.
Questions? I just want to clarify, so the, let's see, I can see, the salaries and per diem line is what goes, the payment to the planning commission
Correct.
members
Yep.
for the meetings. And this is an interesting trend, because it seems like we've We always have a quorum, but if you look at the actuals from the past 2 years, we're trending downward in participation at those. Is that?
Well, Madam Chair, I would say it's been fairly steady.
Okay.
One thing I will say, though, with this year is we had a stretch where we did not have a Board of Adjustment meeting.
Right.
We went about a 3-month stretch, so.
There's not a lot of members on that board either.
Exactly,
and
yeah, it's a
so I just-
5-member board, yep.
So I appreciate that, but I do want to continue, just to reiterate to folks, if they're willing to serve in that capacity, that we really do appreciate their presence at that board. That's really important.
Yep, absolutely.
Additional questions from the board?
But just make a
Commissioner
comment, if I was able to, Madam Chair. I think to Matt's comments that he made earlier, his engagement as far as, well, one of the challenges that we face with permits is many times our citizens are having to act on our time. And allowing it to do it after hours has made a difference. I think your investment in the position that Erica has also goes to the amount of follow-up that we're able to do now. And so I think that when you see that the revenues maybe didn't dip, I think it's really a combination of one, the work that our citizens may know that, okay, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this because I can't get to Matt's office to get this permit. But now understanding that there's also maybe gonna potentially, that there is follow-up, that those two are connected, I feel like. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, additional questions? Same goes to you. Thank you for this thoughtful budget. I know that, department heads have heard the concern from this board and what the outlook is, and really want to, as a member of the Planning Commission, give huge applause to your entire staff. The preparation that goes into all of those meetings is top-notch, and you're able to really have so much of the work done. So when it does come to the Planning Commission, it's really fairly seamless, and that doesn't happen without a lot of work. And so I want you to know that we appreciate that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Any other questions for Matt on the budget proposal? No, thank you.
Thank you.
We will go ahead and take a 5-minute break now. We'll come back at 9:56. All right, thank you for that. We are back with our item 10 today, which is a request to the Clay County Board of Commissioners consider authorizing the West Central Regional Water District and AE2S staff to continue evaluating the potential addition of Wilkin County to the West Central Regional Water District. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. As you are well aware, as we've become part of this project with Norman and Polk County, there's been a great deal of interest, not only within our three-county area, but also some of our partner counties next to us. And so we've had several questions that have come to the West Central Regional Water District Board. And of note, on June 16th, Wilkin County Board of Commissioners formally submitted a request to the West Central Regional Water District expressing interest to join that district. They also have identified having different issues with their water sources and their wells, and feel that it would be a good investment in infrastructure for their county also to look in what they were doing. As part of their request, Wilkin County also acknowledged that that there's been a great deal of work that's gone on by Polk, Norman, and Clay County, and a lot of expense that's come with that. And Wilkin County has acknowledged that they would be responsible for all legal, engineering, administrative, and other costs associated with having them being included within the water district moving forward. This topic was addressed with the Water District Board on June 29th, and they then requested moving this forward for our discussions from each of our counties. Again, this does not commit them to allowing them to join. What it does is it commits your willingness to have Wilkin County potentially be considered, and the work that would go into it, both internally from the Water District staff, our board, also then to the financing requirements that it would take with Wilkin County. With that, I'd yield for any questions.
All right, questions or comments from either of you that are on that board? Commissioner Campbell?
Thank you. As Steve mentioned, Wilkin has expressed interest in this, and Commissioner Bear and I had an opportunity to meet with a couple of the Wilkin County Commissioners prior to their requested letter to the West Central Regional Water District. And what they're really looking for here is some sort of a consent that, if they go through this process, that there's a likelihood that they would be accepted in. As Steve mentioned, each of us 3 counties had a significant investment into both the legal and engineering moving this point forward. Wilkin County is going to have to basically go through a lot of the same steps that we did. And I believe the estimates that were given to them are upwards of $250,000 that they're going to have to pay to do that. And so before they go through and spend that $250,000, they want to have some sort of an idea from each of, ultimately for that district to change, all boards have to approve of it individually, not just the West Central Board itself. So, they were basically, their request is, okay, if we go through this process, you as a Clay County Board, would you be willing to accept them in? I think that's really what the question is here, and of course, we encourage them. I think both Commissioner Bear and I encourage them to. Just on a side note, by having Wilkin County come, if they were to come in, it also expands our lobbying efforts and our representation on there. It brings in another House senator in Minnesota into our group could be beneficial, and Senator Rasmussen is pretty influential in St. Paul, so and I believe he firmly is working with Wilkin County to see their problem solved. So that's kind of what we're asking for here, is just a wink and a nod, I guess.
Commissioner Ebinger?
Yes, I've had a couple of the Wilkin County Commissioners that I serve on other boards with. They're excited about this. And the whole purpose of this thing is to get rural water. And they have a need, and they certainly meet the criteria of rural communities that have this need. So I think it's a good opportunity for them, and very supportive of it.
Commissioner Bear?
The only comment I want to add from Commissioner Campbell's is I've been talking with them for the last about year. They came up to me and approached me and wondering if they could join or what the process is. And we were waiting for us to finally get certified in April, which we did. So that's why this is coming to light now.
Additional questions, Commissioner?
Not a question, but once this does happen, of course, the way the statute works is that we would have to redo the makeup of the board. That would be required by statute. So we don't know if we would, if there's a certain county who would lose a member and it would go to Wilkin, or if we would increase by a member or 2 members. So that's yet to be determined. But I just think the board, in full transparency, needs to know that would be something that would be required under statute down the road. We'd have to adjust that. And so we asked the question of one of their Wilkin County Commissioners who was at our West Central meeting, and I believe it would be their intention to include their entire county, including Breckenridge, in their district. So that's really where they gain the population base. That, of course, that's beneficial to all of us. And of course, Breckenridge could end up being a supplier. So. Anyway, that's.
All right. Any additional comments or feedback? But there is a requested action before us.
And Madam Chair, Commissioners, if the board were to move on this, the attorney for the Water District has requested that the motion be read as it's written.
All right, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Commissioner Bear?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the authorization supporting the continued evaluation of Wilkin County's request to join the West Central Regional Water District, acknowledging that Wilkin County has agreed to fund all legal, engineering, administrative, and other costs associated with its proposed inclusion such that no additional costs will be incurred by the existing member counties during the process. This support is contingent upon the identification of acceptable funding, completion and approval of all necessary legal memorandums and associated agreements between Wilkin County, the West Central Regional Water District, and Polk, Clay, and Norman counties, completion of any required engineering, fiscal, and stationary evaluation, and satisfaction of all applicable requirements under Minnesota statutes, Chapter 116A. The County Board reserves the final approval of Wilkin County's inclusion into the West Central Regional Water District until all contingencies have been satisfied, at which time the matter shall return to the County Board of consideration and the final action of formal resolution.
Second the
We
motion.
have a motion offered from Commissioner Bear, a second from Commissioner Campbell. Would you like to read the second, Commissioner Campbell?
You want to read it for the
You
second?
want to read the whole thing for the second? Any additional comments? Comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you. I also agree. I think this benefits the region as a whole. It really bolsters our legislative advocacy, adding additional representation into it as well. Item 11, the request approval of agreement with Winthrop and Weinstein to provide lobbyist legislative services on behalf of Clay County.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Again, this board has taken an active role with legislative priorities for our county in addition to those of AMC. This past year, this board agreed to a contract with the Winthrop and Weinstein for lobbyist services. That the cost per month was $4,000 per month, over $48,000 on an annual basis. We had an update from Haley and Tom on June 9th, and also they were part of our work session to evaluate what was accomplished and also what potentially could be accomplished at the upcoming session. And so I'd ask them to bring forward a contract for this board to consider. Again, if you take a look from the contract, they kept the amount the same, $4,000 per month, or $48,000 for the next 2027 budget. If you take a look at the work that they've done alongside of all of you down in St. Paul, our two main priorities last year, flood mitigation and also the non-secure detention, we were able to secure $11.8 million working together. So if you figure that out, for every $1 that we invested in our lobbyist, we had a return of $245.83. So with that, I'd yield for any additional questions.
Thank you. I would also say that given the additional priorities that we had as secondary with the watershed, or the water district and the Perham component, we did have conversations about that with them while we were there, and so I would argue that we actually, that figure's doubled, over $20 million to Clay County and benefit really out of the legislative session. Questions from the board? Commissioner Campbell?
I don't have a question, but I guess I really was impressed with, I was somewhat skeptical going into it, but I was certainly impressed with the results. And it certainly, as far as I'm concerned, warrants us moving forward with them again. I would like, and again, it's been primarily on bonding issues, like the flood mitigation and the juvenile detention facility. But another area that I think maybe they could be helpful on is helping us with the message, even though AMC does it. When we start looking at these policies that are coming out there, and when we're seeing these formula where we're penalized for doing a good job, you know, in the areas of social services, maybe that's another area that they can lend us a hand in trying to convince the legislature that, you know, don't penalize counties who, you know, have a 1.8% error rate when the state has over a 10% error rate, and it's costing Clay County $1.5 million, probably at a minimum. I think those are areas that I don't think we need to have them just work on infrastructure issues. I think they can help us on policy issues. And so hopefully that can be a message that this board gives to them moving forward into next year. I think that's probably a more costly thing down the road
Yeah.
than some of our other requests are. Now that the flood mitigation is, you know, I mean, we're probably still gonna be doing some small asks there, but anyway, that's my thoughts on that.
I do really appreciate that perspective, and Commissioner, I'm going to have the floor in a moment. I do want to say that we have had conversations about pivoting, now that we're out of a bonding cycle year, we're into a policy piece, highlighting those that are really going to be hitting the levy in a challenging way if the legislature doesn't act on their mandates. So I appreciate that, and I certainly can give the direction to them if the board chooses. Commissioner Ebinger?
Yeah, just one item, excuse me, one item that, or aspect of this that I think having lobbyists, it almost becomes vital. We're looking at the issues with the score funding, or with the score funding,
Oh, that too.
That too.
yeah, that too. But many of the funding elements we're dealing with right now, different counties have different positions on it. And when we rely on AMC to be our representative on this, they, at times, are gonna have issues where there's conflict within the counties. And it's good to have a talented team with you when you're trying to go in and show that we are meeting the qualifications that are desirable in dealing with our funding that we get from the state and from the federal agencies. And that other counties that are not as successful aren't gonna be inclined to join us in trying to lobby for what's the best interest of the Clay County residents. So these folks have done a good job. I certainly think it's money well spent. And having said that, I might as well make the motion to approve the agreement with Winthrop and Weinstein, PA, to provide lobbyist legislative services on behalf of Clay County.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion offered from Commissioner Ebinger, a second from Commissioner Krabenoff.
Just one comment.
Yep, Commissioner Bear.
This was budgeted for last year, right? This is not gonna be an increase on our budget.
That's correct.
Everybody knows that.
Correct. And this contract goes through the end of this year as well. So we have had conversation with them on additional work. I think Commissioner Campbell had talked to them about coordinating the DNR HAS mitigation funding application components as well. My question, has this been reviewed by the Attorney's Office?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Additional questions from the board?
I would note, Madam Chair, that Commissioner Campbell's comments are very timely. I had a conversation with Quinn yesterday. He's going to be coming to board next week with some additional updates, but we're notified that the state error rate has gone up over 10% now, which will put us in the 15% category. So.
All right. Questions? We have not voted yet, correct?
That's good.
Any other comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you for prepping that. In looking back at the item 4 and 5, where Cecilia was before us earlier, we've left messages with Cecilia. I know they're scrambling to get the data that was requested. I did reach out to Carrie Robidoux, who is the direct supervisor of the program, and felt like it would be helpful for her to help get information. I would prefer that, and they would as well, that we table, since the budget component needs to happen after the item 4, that we table both items to next week so that we could have in-person presentation with There is a hiccup there, but just given what staff is under with the county fair this week, feel that would be the most fair, and so would take up, if the board wanted, tabling them one at a time to next Tuesday.
Need a motion for that?
Correct.
Okay, I'll make a motion let's see.
Item 4.
Yeah, okay. I motion to table the Clay County Board of Commissioners considering modification in the University of Minnesota contract on staffing levels.
Okay, we have a motion offered to lay on the table. Item 4 from Commissioner Krabanoff, a second from Commissioner Bear. That is a non-debatable motion.
Well, Madam Chair, I think the motion needs to include table till when.
I thought he
It
said
wasn't
Tuesday.
included
I'm
in
sorry.
this, what he
Okay.
apologize.
Yeah,
Till
tabled until
next Tuesday.
next week being, what's the date? 14?
14th.
July 14th.
And that resembles your second as well. Thank you for catching that, Commissioner Campbell. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
I'll also make a motion that the extension budget presentation for 2027 also be tabled until next week's meeting on July 14th.
A motion offered from Commissioner Krabanoff, a second from Commissioner Bear to lay item 5 on the table until next Tuesday. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carried. Thank you. Okay, going back into item 12 would be our committee reports. Commissioner Ebinger, 2 weeks of reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let's see, on Tuesday, the 23rd of June, myself and Commissioner Campbell attended the RRDC Authority Board meeting at the Dispatch Center. I think probably the high point of it all was we did pass a motion that was sent up from the Executive Board for a 2027 budget. The budget was an 8.28% increase, and it included a technology specialist position, which, I mean, is fairly critical for succession there. We have a wonderful, talented individual in the position of technology supervisor, but he's been there for 20 years, and sooner or later he needs to retire. And we have a competent younger employee who's moving into the position to learn what he does. So we passed the motion to approve that budget, and it will be coming up here during our budget discussions for review. We also defined the public service T1 call taker job description, which at this point we do not have. We've not taken a call taker dispatcher model on yet, but to have those positions and a pay structure on them is essential if they're going to transition at some point, which I think they'll need to. So that was done. Also recognized Commissioner Kolpak from Fargo, Mayor Mahoney from Fargo, and Commissioner Olson, all of whom have been on the board, but who were moving out because of the elections in North Dakota. We'll have new people coming on board here shortly from the North Dakota partners. On the 24th, Wednesday, I attended the Partnership for Health entrance meeting with state auditors and staff from Becker County and Clay County discussing the upcoming audit. Since there's transition from the 4-county model to a new 2-county model, there's going to be a higher level of scrutiny paid attention to us on this audit. But as it stands right now, everything looks good, and they'll be moving in and starting the audit process. Later that day, I attended the Moorhead, or the Metro Flood Diversion Authority Finance Committee meeting. Basically, it was general business where we approved a couple of the financial reports to forward to the next day to the Diversion Authority Board of Authority. And on the 25th, I attended that meeting. The executive director gave a report. There's an intention to get a new committee and board member orientation set up for new members that are coming in. As Commissioner Campbell pointed out, we're going to have in the next year 6 new members on the board.
We're going to have 8 new members.
8 new members. So there's going to be a turnover, and I think it's critical that we have some of the new people brought on board and brought up to speed with what's a pretty complex board assignment. There's going to be a board retreat on September 15th. I apologize, I did not review this prior to leaving the meeting here a week ago. Regular project updates and regular business. And again, there was recognition for Mayor Mahoney and other board members who were leaving because of term limits or retirement from their positions. On Friday, the 26th, I attended a remote meeting of the Great Fargo-Moorhead EDC Board. Charlie Johnson updated us on the convention center over in the decision to have a downtown location for it. We also discussed the executive director's performance review and reviewed some of the material that was provided to us earlier. And there was a plan to present return on investment and some of the other concerns that were brought up in that evaluation. There were 2 nominations for new members of the executive board, and that completed that meeting. And on the 1st of this month, I attended at a James Nelson Farm south of City of Moorhead. Amy Klobuchar had a press conference. The SNAP problems we were identifying earlier were discussed as part of that presentation. She also presented some potential projects that she would propose if she were governor to address needs of rural Minnesota. We did discuss the cost that we've got of SNAP error rates, which now it looks like the state has gotten worse, and we've continued to maintain an excellent position, and yet we're going to be penalized even more now. So that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Ebinger. Thank you also for being present for that. I think that was an important dialogue. Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 2 meetings here. Going back to the June 24th and June 25th, Commissioner Bear and I went to a 2-day government to government, which is tribal state relations training, and this was held in Granite Falls. The presentation was done in line with a statute that was passed in 2021 under Governor Walz, and it's Statute 1065. And what it the essence of the statute is that the relationship between state government, meaning their agencies mostly, and the legislators themselves, understand and gain knowledge of past history, also current situations that are going within the 11 tribal tribes in the state of Minnesota, and requires them to create education and conversation so that they understand each other to the highest ability that they can do. It also gives rules and regulations as to how to go about respecting and honoring and working with each other's authorities and rights, so that in order to work better in a relationship that honors each other and helps each other jointly. So that was the overall view of it. It was overwhelming at point, I would say, with information. It was really, I mean, when they started at 9 and they did go till 5, I mean, it was one thing after another with a few breaks. A big part of what they did was to give a historical background, starting all the way back to Columbus to present day. Obviously, you know, some of their story that they presented is very tragic, and yet at the other end of it, as we get more current day, we see some of those areas that have can create and still create challenges for the two entities. So you have your federal government, you have your state government, and you have your tribes, and how they all share their identities. They use the word sovereignty, how you mix and mingle all three, and when one's authority overlays the other one. Maybe that's a good overview of that on my part. Commissioner Bear may have more specific things to share. They've done, this educator that was leading this has done 50 of these trainings over the years. It varies from year to year how often they have them. It's kind of up to the tribes. They've had us up to as many as 11 a year, and this year they may only have 2 or 3. But I would suggest for the future, I found it very, very important information to know. I would suggest, you know, we participate best we can whenever it returns over to White Earth, just to help our relationships, grow our relationships, I should say, you know, with our with the tribe closest to us. So later on that was the 24th and 25th, and then that evening, the 25th, I had my monthly meeting for CAP-LP. We had a full review of our audit done by Bergen KDB. The audit report showed that CAP-LP is in good standing and had no negative marks. That's the highest it can do. And then, so with that was approved by the board, which then led into the financial statements that go along with the report and our 1090 form, our 990 form to the IRS for the 2025 tax year. Then we did approvals of several grants, as we do every month. Again, it's amazing all the grant opportunities that people work at over at that agency. And then they had a Head Start self-assessment report as required by a federal Head Start oversight. They gave detail of that, and everything has turned out in the report to be fine. So That's what I have to say about that. So that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Krabbenhoft. Commissioner Campbell.
Thank you. June 18th, we had our Prairie Lake Solid Waste Budget Committee meeting, which we were delegated to present the budget to the full board. And the items of note on that were there was a $220,000 projected increase due to labor and benefits. There was an estimated increase of $55,000 in electrical costs, an increase in auditorial management by $18,000. That's the first time they've increased that in many, many years. And then we had an increase of the internal service fund from $250,000 to $350,000, and I'll touch on that in a minute. And we had a reduction of $25,000 in the property insurance premium. And so what it amounts to is there was an additional $355,000 in total cost in 2027, which calculates out to a 4.6% increase. As it relates to Clay County, that's an increase of $15,531 to the Clay County solid waste budget for 2027. If you want to look at it from a tipping fee standpoint, the tipping fee went from $160.31 to $167.71. So that meeting was held and recommended for approval. Back on the issue of the $250,000 to $350,000 on the internal service fund. Over the next 5 years, the need in the internal service fund is $630,000. And so we're out, just even by increasing it by $100,000, we're still going to be short. But the nice thing about that is in year 5, there is $1 million project scheduled in year 5. But by the time that rolls around, one of the previous 5-year capital improvement bonds that we had will be paid off. And so we're hoping that we could then incorporate a new capital improvement bond that would help cover that to offset the need for that internal service fund. Otherwise, we'd really have, and again, it's all to try to make these annual increases as level as possible, and that's part of what that helps to do, so. Then on the 20th, well, I guess I have my a little bit backwards here. Oh yeah, okay, on the 23rd, we did have the Red River Regional Dispatch Center board agenda, and at that we did review the budget from the recommended from the Budget and Finance Committee, and as Commissioner Ebinger noted, we did approve that budget as a board. And then also, in addition to that, we did consider approval of the call taker position, and we did not move forward on that for 2027. And we also considered a pay structure for the call taker job position, and we did approve that, but with the idea in mind that it's not going to be implemented right now because of the other demands on the budget that we have to deal with. Other things of note, there's 36 of the 38 full-time positions in place right now. And there's 2 part-time. Commissioner Ebinger mentioned about the succession plan for the technology specialist position, and I think that was a critical thing. I think everybody agreed with that, including the executive committee, which is all the sheriffs and police chiefs and fire department. They all agreed that that position is critical to have somebody get in there and to learn the work that Brian does, because it's important work. Then on the 24th, I attended the Moorhead Wellhead Protection Plan, Part 2 meeting on the 24th, and we just kind of went over some of the changes. One of the things that I brought up that they are incorporating into the Wellhead Protection Plan now that didn't exist back 10 years ago when it was done, was the fact that there is now a one watershed, one plan deal through the watershed. So there's language in this new Wellhead Protection Plan that identifies that one watershed, one plan program that's there. And then also on the 25th, we had our Clay County Solid Waste Advisory Committee meeting. We got some grant updates and reports from Ella. She did a fantastic job with her work in those grants. Corey gave a good report on the landfill activities. And he presented a recycling formula that I think is gonna come before this full board here soon, that kind of addresses how we're gonna distribute those recycling dollars in a, rather than just kind of pick some numbers out of the thin air. We have a formula established that's gonna help be consistent. There was a few little suggestions on it, but I think overall it was well received. Also on the 25th, we had our Clay County Joint Powers Authority meeting, and with that we had our usual status reports. We did our final appointment on the representatives of the Minnesota funding, and then the funding requests moving forward, how that would be prioritized. And then there was some small contracting actions that we approved, as well as a reimbursement request from a family on their moving. And then the Diversion Authority Board meeting was held that same day. A lot of updates. One thing of note, under the Finance Committee, Mayor Dardis gave a report. The sales tax collections, both from the Fargo sales tax and the Cass County sales tax, has been somewhat stagnant or level. There's indications now in this last one that they've seen that they're starting to see that move in the positive direction again, so that was good news. And of course, it was kind of a day where we said goodbye to Chair Mahoney. Meant a lot to me. I'd worked with him since day one on it. We were co-chairs of on the original project, so it was kind of sad to have to say goodbye. And but so it goes. And also Bernie Dardis, who was, it's nice when you have board members who might lead in committees that you have a lot of respect for, and you know that what they're going to provide you is just good information. And Bertie Dardis was just solid in that regard when it comes to the financing reports. And we did go into an executive session to discuss the nest crop loss issue. And we came back into, once we were done with that, we got some updated information. We came back in and the board took action to get that contract or that nest crop loss agreement agreed to, and that was supported by everybody. So, and then I should mention Denise Kolpak too, was the other board member who she'd been on there for 4 years and had done a really good job, and she will be missed too. And it's the The nice thing about that thing is we're getting to October is the date that it's supposed to be substantially complete, so the efforts on behalf of all those people for as many years as they worked on it, they're gonna see the results of that. It's gonna be historic when it's all said and done. Then on the 29th, Commissioner Bear and I attended the West Central Regional Water meeting, and that one was held in Grand Forks. Items of note, we had some of the things that were in there. Of course, we had Wilkin County was there, so we talked about that, what we did today. In terms of funding earmarks, the 2024 earmark, we finally were approved for our first reimbursement of $327,000. We've been waiting that for quite some time. In terms of the 2026 earmark, we now have a case manager assigned, so that's probably also a good thing. And our priorities were to really be talking about getting the water to Felton, Georgetown, Pearlie, and Hendrum. That's part of our key. That's to get this thing moving, and I think that's all I have on that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Bear.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also was down at the government-to-government tribal state relations training down in Granite Falls with Commissioner Krabanoff, where it was a very eye-opening 2-day retreat. We learned a lot about the federal Indian policy and just the treaty obligations that the federal government has gone in with the tribes across the nation, and specifically in Minnesota. It was a great retreat, and I would like to advise you, everybody on board, that if it does come around closer to White Earth, I would advise you to go to it. It's very, very eye-opening, very well worth the 2 days. And then on June 29th, I was also at the West Central Regional Water District Board meeting up in Grand Forks, where Commissioner Campbell gave a very good update on that. The one thing I'd add to that, our next step is to do outreach with Felton, Georgetown, Pearlie, Hendrum, and Halstead on getting contracts with them in the next couple months so we can move forward with pipeline. And after that meeting, we had a financial policy workshop up in Grand Forks too with the West Central Regional Water District, where we were just setting more policies on the district. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Bear. On the 23rd, I, with all of you, attended the Employee Appreciation Picnic. Really great opportunity to celebrate the amazing staff that we have at the county. Huge gratitude to the staff member and department heads that really helped shape what that was. Thanks to Troy and to Commissioner Bear for providing the pork. One of my favorite times of the year, and I can't go without saying that Kurt Cannon's got some sweet moves on the grill. So there's that. That evening, I attended the Planning Commission meeting. We did have a request from Ryan and Michael Haug from Haug Farms, CAFO expansion of a feedlot. In Humboldt Township, there were some concerns in regards to fencing, but those are conditions of the permit, and the board did approve the request. June 24th, I had the opportunity, was appointed to the Fargo-Moorhead Diversion Authority Debris Removal and Restoration Committee. Really, that is a promise that we saw through to the folks that will be inundated with the project once it's in operation. So it was our first meeting about coming up to speed, making sure that we had a process in place, articulated some of the language, dialed that in a little bit more. We will be having an additional meeting next month so that we do have a better plan going forward and what the communication strategy is to landowners. Appreciate the MCC JPA for appointing me to that board. So thank you. On the 25th, I attended the SWAT committee meeting with Commissioner Campbell. We did have great updates from Ella on the status of the composting grant. I've not heard. We should hear very soon on that. Really hopeful that we hear soon. And then also the lumber reuse grant. That's a great opportunity for folks to reuse some good lumber that comes into the resource recovery facility. Staff is also, in addition to what Commissioner Campbell updated on, working on the new solid waste management plan that is due in 2027. That's a 10-year plan, so appreciate staff's work for getting that going. And then two, making sure we're dialing into the recycling grants to our cities in the best way possible to reflect the effort that all of the smaller cities and Moorhead too, but all of the cities are doing in collaboration with us. I also attended the MCC JPA meeting with Commissioner Campbell, general updates. We did have those resolutions and clarifications on the state funding requests. I attended the CAP-LP Board of Directors meeting that Commissioner Krabanoff highlighted. On June 26th, I attended the AMC Board of Directors meeting in St. Paul. We had really good dialogue on so many of the legislative issues that are coming out, both state and federally, and how we continue to have messaging with our state representatives and senators on how these mandates are hitting our budgets in challenging ways. On the Tuesday, I attended the Romkey Reimagined reopening for a kid that grew up in the Moorhead area. Really exciting to see that development, but more importantly, exciting to see it full of families and young people alike. Congratulations to Moorhead. The amount of grants that they were able to federally secure on that were quite enormous. That afternoon, I attended the NACO Public Policy Steering Committee. As you recall, I've been appointed to that with Commissioner McDonald from up in St. Louis County. Both he and I were added as co-author sponsors to the proposed legislative language in anticipation of the annual conference next week. That bill is to a proposed resolution to delist the gray wolf from the endangered species list. That is something that in conversations with providers locally that are not providers, producers locally, that would be something would be really important for them. So felt that was important to our residents to do that. So I've been added as a co-sponsor. Did ask Steve to forward that language to all of you, so you're aware of that. The next day, I had an opportunity to attend a soil health day with members of SWCD, NRCS, USDA providers at the Dan Grefsrud farm by Rolog. Really great to see different alternative practices in regards to rotations and practices on their fields, in rotations with the cattle grazing. It's not something that fits for everyone, but it certainly has worked for them, and it's a challenge, but a great opportunity for folks to coordinate and communicate together about what the challenges and opportunities are there. But more importantly, to have so many staff members, particularly supervisors from this SWCD there, was helpful. Last week, I also worked on a article with AgriPulse, which is a national ag-based reporting out of Washington, D.C., on the SNAP reality that counties are facing locally. Quinn did a remarkable job communicating where we stand to see some huge increases with our minor error rate as we talk about. So I think the more we can continue to tell that story, it's helpful. It was in not collaboration, but seemed to go at the same time as Commissioner Ebbinger's visit with the senator, but I really appreciate that. So Steve, if you can send that out to staff, the commission, that would be helpful. And I believe that concludes my report. I do have one final thing. I do think that one, I'm really appreciative that we have so many departments that are willing to be out at the county day at the fair on Friday. Really excited about that. If you have the opportunity to head to Barnesville, it is a free gate, so great great fun there, but so many folks have put time and effort in there, and there are some pretty amazing champions that will be getting some farm awards, particularly the Friend of the Fair awards. I really, there've been people that we've all worked with for a number of years, so congratulations to them. Commissioner Campbell, did you?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one additional thing here. When we talk about the West Central Regional Water District, when we formed that, we had Commissioner Bear and I are on there, and we have an at-large member from Clay County. And I neglected to be thinking about a per diem for that individual. And so this entire time, Don Martadam has been going to all of these meetings. He attends every one with the exception if he's out of state. And I would like to have Mr. Larson put this on next week's agenda to incorporate a per diem rate for Don.
I thought we did that.
I don't think we have done that.
I can look back into information. If we haven't brought it forward, I'll bring it forward. If we do, I'll provide an update.
Yeah, because I don't recall seeing where we,
I thought, and I could be wrong, but I thought we did have a dialogue to make sure, because he's not been getting mileage either.
no. So anyway, I just want to make sure, so if we have, then fine, but I don't know that there's even a form that he's filled out to.
Okay.
And I would like to see that be retroactive to January of 2026 if we have not done it. So
Yeah, that's
I mean,
incredibly fair.
he travels a long distance to get there, and then some of our meetings last multiple hours there, and he shouldn't be doing that for, and I would like to see that at the same per diem rate as what our planning commission is at.
All right. Okay. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, just want to thank everybody involved with the County Appreciation Picnic. Fortunate the weather held off, and we had a great day. Thank the commission for continuing to serve on that day, along with Darren and many of the staff that both behind the scenes and after. It was, again, another great day. That afternoon, he had the extension pre-budget discussion that we'll be having on the agenda again next week. On the 25th, participated in the MCC JPA meeting, which has been well covered. On the 29th, participated virtually with the Water District Board meeting and also the financial workshop. On the 30th, had the technology service pre-budget discussion and also the highway budget, which will be coming, those two will be coming next week. On the 1st, met with Darren and Anna in regards to a Step 3 union grievance. I had that meeting, that grievance hearing the following day. Yesterday, I had a conversation with Quinn, as I mentioned earlier. Again, I'm going to be inviting him back to the board next week to talk about some new information on the long-term service and supports. This goes back to the 2025 legislature, if you remember. In January and through March this year, we were having some discussions on potential impacts. If you recall, there was a task force or committee that was established through legislation that was comprised of commissioners, administrators, and human service staff, directors, that were to get approval of information to help cut the recommended DHS cuts that the state set and get those to CMS for approval. Unfortunately, they did not get that to them in time, and so there's going to be impacts that are going to be to the 2027 budget starting in July 1st. But again, we'll have Quinn here to provide more detail, better detail, probably than I just provided. Yesterday, met with Commissioner Krabanoff, updated on several things that happened over the last week and a half, and also then again met with Darren, Troy, and Anna yesterday on detox withdrawal management program. Also, just a notification, we did hear from Red River Communications yesterday. As this board recalls, you've been part of several grant applications providing letters of support. And just to let you know that the Reconnect grant that we received, or that they received with your support a little over a year ago is starting. That we're bringing fiber optic broadband to the Saban and Comstock area. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Steve. Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did just want to highlight one item, really something that combined both Quinn Jager's department with mine. It was very fitting that Sandy was here with Tammy Gerke. It was a medical assistance claim that was outstanding, pretty large scale, and ultimately the property that was owned by this individual, specifically a house, we were able to do the real estate actions, pay the remainder of what was owed on the house, and then sell that to a new seller. And that was a new process that both Krista Wahlberg and then Katie Stock out of my office worked on. And so I know Quinn highlighted it to Steve in just a short part of the email that Quinn had put out there. Just said, Katie and Krista really did all the heavy lifting to make this happen. This was a process we hadn't navigated before, and they put in a tremendous amount of work coordinating the estate, working through the legal and administrative requirements, and seeing the sale through to closing. Katie, you identified several opportunities to reduce closing costs, increasing the recovery even further. Given the budget pressures we're facing, this is a very nice recovery for the county, but it's also a great example of staff being willing to innovate and tackle something new to improve outcomes. And so I just agree with all that and thought it was a very good opportunity to get some money back, taxpayer money for both the county and then the state. So I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Darren?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, I was not able to make the county picnic this year. I was sick that day, and you definitely wouldn't have wanted me there. But I want to thank all the EAC members and everybody that participated, and they really put a lot of work into that. On Wednesday, June 24th, had a meeting with Quinn and Anna about the new law that's coming down on social workers. In the future, to be able to be called an actual social worker, you have to be certified and licensed to use the social worker title. And so the human resources departments throughout the county are trying to figure out if you're not licensed and a certified social worker, what would be the title of you? So there's some consistency throughout the state. So more to come on that. On the 25th, I attended the SWAC meeting as well. That's already been covered. And I had a meeting with Chief Deputy Martin on some personnel issues. I was out Friday as well. Monday, the 29th, I had a demonstration of the NEMO Q appointment review. It's what the DMV uses to schedule appointments. And so we're looking at having that also for public health and social services. This is where citizens can make appointments online, and then it will send them text reminders. Very low cost for, I think, the benefit that we would get from that. It's about $5,000 for two departments, the public health and social services, for the year. So that was good. And then on Monday also we had an EAC after action review of the picnic. On the 30th, sat in on some pre-budget meetings with tech services and highway. On the 1st, we had a meeting on the step 1 grievance that was put in from the detox, and worked some on the data practices project. On Thursday, July 2nd, we had a step 3 grievance that we had heard. That's ongoing right now. And then on the 6th, had a meeting for the follow-up on the Laudermill that we've been working on with a detox employee. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Darren. Sarah? Thank you. Excuse me. So as I noted, Friday will be Clay County Government Day at the Clay County Fair from noon to 4 by the open class building area. We have concluded all items on the agenda. Our next scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, July 14th at 8:30. We are adjourned.